Today's movie is the 2006 comedy drama film, The Devil Wears Prada. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Andy Sachs is an aspiring journalist newly graduated from Northwestern University, where she was the editor of the school's literary magazine. She has high hopes for a journalism career in New York City but knows that the competition is fierce. Andy interviews for a job as assistant to Miranda Priestly, editor-in-chief of Runway magazine and the most powerful woman in the world of fashion. Andy doesn't know a thing about fashion, and when she enters the posh offices, she finds herself in a strange new world populated by super slim fashion divas and women obsessed with their accessories. At the reception, she meets Emily Charlton, Miranda's chief assistant. Emily loves her job and is surprised that Andy doesn't know who Miranda is. She finds it laughable that Andy thinks she has a chance of getting a job at Runway. She describes the position as a job that millions of girls would kill for. She adds that working for a year under Miranda Priestly would guarantee her a job at any magazine she wants. Miranda is an accomplished and demanding woman who has built an empire on hard work and the pursuit of excellence. She rules over her kingdom with a tight fist and expects nothing short of perfection from her subjects. As such, when she comes to work early, everyone panics and tries to get everything in place before she arrives at her desk. Andy is surprised by how much everyone is afraid of her. Miranda decides to interview Andy herself. Andy admits that she had never read Runway and had never heard of Miranda Priestly before. Miranda tells her that she has no style or sense of fashion. She interrupts Andy and tells her that the interview is over. Andy stands up for herself, telling her why she deserves the job. Miranda turns her away. Andy leaves the office feeling dejected. However, before she leaves the building, Emily calls her back telling her that she had gotten the job. Emily is visibly stunned that Andy is hired. Andy plans to put up with Miranda's excessive demands and humiliating treatment for 1 year in the hopes of getting a job as a reporter or writer somewhere else. At first, she fits in poorly among the gossipy fashionistas who make up the magazine staff. Her lack of style or fashion knowledge and fumbling with her job make her an object of scorn around the office. Emily is condescending to her. She tells Andy that she is in charge of Miranda's schedule, appointments and expenses. She then adds that as chief assistant, she gets to accompany Miranda to the Paris Fashion Week. The pressure to keep Miranda happy is incredible, and Andy soon finds herself working until late in the night. She is at her boss's beck and call, fetching coffee, food and making innumerable deliveries. During a dress trial meeting, Miranda berates Andy in front of the entire team for not taking fashion seriously. Back home, Andy complains to her boyfriend Nate about Miranda. She tells him that she won't let Miranda get to her. The next day, Andy approaches art director Nigel to help her learn the ropes in the world of fashion. Nigel is the only one in the office who gives her any helpful counsel on dealing with Miranda. He points out to her how lucky she is to be working at Runway. He tells her to quit the self-pity and focus on getting better at her job. Gradually, with Nigel's help, Andy adapts to the position. She gets to know the many perks of her job, including free designer clothing and accessories. She begins to dress more stylishly and does her job competently, and accommodates all of Miranda's whims and fancies. These changes create problems in Andy's relationship with Nate. Nate finds it hard to accept Andy's newfound commitment to her job and her new look. He is frustrated that she is always at Miranda's beck and call. When her father visits, he too is astonished to see her working so hard for little pay. He reminds her that she could have attended Stanford Law School and here she was working as a mere assistant. On the evening he is in town, Andy desperately tries to get Miranda home from Miami during a hurricane in the area. She ends up not spending quality time with her dad as a result. The whole office is stunned by Andy's transformation. Miranda notices Andy's changed appearance and commitment and begins to give her more responsibility and complicated tasks to handle. Miranda tasks Andy to get some sketches for the spring collection from fashion designer James Holt. James is hosting a party where Andy meets Christian Thompson, an attractive young writer. When he learns that Andy also plans to be a writer, he offers to read some of her work, and suggests he could help her with her career. Slowly but surely, Andy becomes more glamorous and absorbs the runway philosophy. She is able to perform tasks even before Miranda asks her to. This impresses Miranda and she asks Andy to deliver a book containing everything in the current issue of Runway at her home. Andy is surprised since the book was previously only delivered by Emily to Miranda's home. This is a huge achievement for Andy since it shows that Miranda finally trusts her. The true test of Andy's creativity comes when Miranda orders her to obtain a copy of the latest unreleased Harry Potter novel for her twin daughters within a day. This is a seemingly impossible task which even Miranda herself does not expect Andy to accomplish. Andy has to rely on the help of Christian Thompson, a wheeler dealer who has a crush on her, to pull off this difficult assignment. Miranda is impressed when she pulls it off. Andy gradually outperforms Emily at her job. Emily meanwhile is consumed with the thought of attending Paris Fashion Week as Miranda's first assistant, which motivates her to attempt extreme diets which damage her health. That evening, Emily and Andy are tasked with remembering important details about the guests at a charity benefit. Their responsibility is to ensure that all the guests think Miranda knows exactly who they are. At the charity benefit, Andrea saves Miranda from social embarrassment when the cold-stricken Emily falters in reminding Miranda who an approaching guest is. As a result, Miranda tells Andrea that she will accompany her to the fall fashion shows in Paris instead of Emily. Miranda tells Andy to inform Emily that she will not be going to Paris. Andy feels guilty since Emily had been so psyched about this. Miranda warns her that if she declines, it could adversely affect her future job prospects. When Andy calls Emily to tell her Miranda's decision, Emily is hit by a car and ends up in the hospital. Andy then tells the recovering Emily the news and Emily is furious. During a gallery exhibit of her friend Lily's photography, Andy again encounters Christian. He openly flirts with her and kisses her on the cheek. Lily witnesses all of this and is visibly shocked and disgusted. Lily calls her out and walks away. Andy bumps into Nate, who is surprised to hear that she is going to Paris. He is angered that she refuses to admit that she's become the girls she's made fun of and that their relationship has taken a backseat. As a result, they break up the night before she leaves for Paris. In Paris, Andy learns from Miranda about her impending divorce. She sees her boss let her guard down for the first time. She admits that she is worried about her twins and how her impending divorce will affect them. Later that night, Nigel tells Andy that he has accepted a job as creative director with rising designer James Holt at Miranda's recommendation. Nigel is very excited about this, saying that for the first time in 18 years, he is going to call the shots in his own life. Andy goes on a date with Christian Thompson and he kisses her. Andy finally gives in to Christian's charms and spends the night with him. The next morning, Christian tells Andy about a plan to replace Miranda as runway editor with Jacqueline Follett, the editor of the magazine's French edition, later that day. Despite the suffering she has endured at her boss's behest, Andy feels bad for Miranda. She attempts to warn her but Miranda turns her away. At the luncheon later that day, however, Miranda announces that it is Jacqueline instead of Nigel who will leave Runway for Holt as the new creative director. This news leaves both Andy and Nigel stunned. Later, when Miranda and Andy are being driven to a show, she explains to a still stunned Andy that she was grateful for the warning but she already knew of the plot to replace her, and that she sacrificed Nigel to keep her own job. Pleased by this display of loyalty, she tells Andrea she sees some of herself in her. Andrea is repulsed by this and tells her that she could never do to anyone what Miranda had done to Nigel. Miranda replies that she already did by stepping over Emily when she agreed to go to Paris. She tells her that if she wants to get ahead in her career, that's what she'll have to be willing to do. Andy eventually comes face to face with her own obsession with success and the kind of person she has become. She gets out of the limo at the next stop, and instead of going into the show with Miranda, she goes out into the street. She ignores Miranda's call and throws her cell phone into a nearby fountain, leaving Miranda, runway and fashion behind. Sometime later, Andy meets up with Nate and apologizes. Nate tells Andy he has a new job as a sous chef in Boston, and they reconcile. The same day, Andy is interviewed and accepted to work at a major New York publication company. The editor recounts how he called Runway for a reference, and was informed by Miranda that while Andy was one of the biggest disappointments she ever had as an assistant, he would be an idiot not to hire her. Andy then calls Emily and reconciles with her by offering her the dresses she obtained at Paris. While passing the Runway office building in the afternoon, Andy makes eye contact with Miranda as she gets into a car. Although Andy waves, Miranda does not acknowledge her but smiles to herself once she is seated in the car. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like to help with the channel's growth. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this.